Hey everybody, Neon here. I am doing a co-cast today. Actually, I was in the Artificers Guild, the channel, and we were talking about some of the stuff that's going to be happening for the AOC event that's happening this weekend that I'm very excited about. And my buddy Hellberg here was saying that he wanted to get involved in doing some of the casting, but he'd never done it before. So I said, "Hey man, you should come on and tell me how to draft, and then we'll practice some casting, and that's what we're up to today." So how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Doing very well. I mean, you've been doing really well though in the draft circuit that has been going on largely, right? Like you've been doing a lot of draft in the Artificers Guild like tournament series, especially.
Yeah, I've been spamming those. I think I'm at least one of the top like people when it comes to how many I've played. Like I've played
Oh yeah.
so many of them. The first 5 or 6 of them I played in like every single one. I didn't have much luck day 1, and then day 2 I actually won 2 of them.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it's gotten, yeah, it went pretty well for me. Sadly, the one day I can't attend is the finals, but that's just life.
Yeah, so you'll be able to be there for part of it though, for to do the casting, which will be really exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
From what I understand.
Yeah.
But in that case, though, I was be interested in hearing what some of your takes are about the format, in a broad strokes sort of way, of like, what are some of the strategies that you like more? What are some that you avoid? Like let's start here. Like, what is your favorite color?
My favorite color in draft is actually black.
Okay.
Because black has all the things that you want in draft, right? It has impactful creeps like the Oglory Vandal or the Assassin's Apprentice, I think it's called, the 3/2 2-mana one. And it doesn't seem like much because it can't trade with creeps, but I actually really like it because it can set up some really good turn 1 kills. Like, say your Debbie is targeting a Lycan
or like an Enchantress or
yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. Something you can't really kill the turn 1, but just throw out a free to creep, redirect it to the hero, and you get a kill, and you have a blocker for the next turn that also does some damage to whatever's in front of it. Or just if nothing's in front of it, you get 3 more damage on the tower next turn. So yeah, just black is really good. Mobility, tower damage, some clear if you're lucky enough to get a Tinker or Lich. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think I ever told you this. So my best draft deck that I've had so far, let me tell me if you would play this hero lineup.
Okay.
It included an axe and 2 Tinkers.
Oh yeah, totally. I'll just like put 2. What's Tinker's thing called?
March of the Machines.
Yeah, exactly. I'd put 2 of those in like middle,
every lane,
like 2 in middle lane, 2 in right lane, and I just have an axe it in the left lane, just kill whatever comes in front of me. Like,
yeah, man, it was a really tough 5-0. Actually, so the story on that one, I lost 1 tower. In my 5 months. That was actually my objective, is losing as little towers as possible. So I was actually really disappointed that I lost that 1 tower. But anyway, enough of my sick brags. We can do that. So let's talk actually the specifics about this deck here.
Okay.
So this is the one that we're actually going to be casting the game for. But this is a 3-color deck to begin with. How do you feel about those?
Yeah, I go 3-color like 80% of the time, 90% of the time.
80%? Wow.
Yeah, at least. Like in all the AOCs, I think I had like 1, maybe 2 2-color decks.
Really?
Yeah, and the reason is, of course, 2-color is better. Like having 2 colors instead of 3 is more consistent. But the general power of cards makes up for the 3-color, triple color, if that makes sense. So in draft, you can't really, or sometimes you can, get 40 good cards and just have them be 2 colors. Like, it usually doesn't happen. If it does happen, you go to a dual color instead. Yeah, so usually you prioritize card power over the consistency of having only 2 colors, if that makes sense.
Well, it's also something that I found that if you, like, once you are a little bit more skilled in the draft format, you know how to make up for your weaknesses. You know how to make up for those inconsistencies. Like, you say, like, okay, these are the kinds of heroes that I need as my singleton hero to maybe get more like mileage out of this, or this is how I deploy them better. Like I think that there's a lot to that of getting the most out of a 3-color build, where novice players might just like if they deploy their singleton hero in the wrong lane, they can kind of just lose as a result.
Totally. So, for example, some really good splash heroes are actually like Sniper, because a Sniper can affect any lane and like after mana 7. Sorry, his signature spell works in any lane. Another really good hero to splash, in my opinion, kind of underrated maybe, is Massey. Because you can
I agree.
deploy Massey, just throw out some stealing reinforcements in any lane, abandon that lane, and just like win. You don't really even need super good cards together with Massey to make her work. Same with Sniper.
And Mazzy is just a tank.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Really
she can
helps
eat
as
creeps
well.
forever. So I usually, actually, if I have a Splash Massey, I actually put her in the lane I want to abandon. So she eats creeps. I put them stealing reinforcements there. The creeps dies. Whatever doesn't die barely deals any damage to the tower. Like, yeah.
Get that. Okay, so let's talk about like the specifics of this deck then. What are some of the things that you see in this one that maybe you think is interesting, that you like, or you don't like? Like, what jumps out at you? What you're seeing so far?
The absolute first thing I see is actually an item, the Classroom Hourglass. Sorry, it's so strong. Like, say if you have a Luggage turn 1, turn 2, get that early, you just kind of win. Like your opponent has at least like 2 cards less than you. Yeah, it's super strong. Some really solid items in this deck in general. Stonewall Plate, pretty good. Blade of the Vigil is alright. Red Mist Maul really helps in draft because of just the amount of red and green walls everywhere that you can't get through. Red Mist helps.
Yeah, this is the kind of deck that for me, like I like to include that one Red Mist Maul because you can sometimes have trouble like closing out the game with it. Like there's, as we see, like there's a little bit of like top end stuff and not like a ton of it. And as a result, Red Mist Maul is a useful tool for actually killing people, which is sometimes a challenge for blue decks.
Like you have no actual finisher, as to say. You don't have an emissary or a what's it called, Thunderhide pack. So those are the kind of finishers you really want to be looking for, because an easy thing to kind of forget about decks is that any deck, I say, any good deck needs a finisher of some sort, right? You always want some kind of finisher, whether it be a Thunderhide pack or just, I guess, some blue spells can be called finishers, like Zeus ult, I almost said, but ults.
Thunderguide
exactly. It's a different kind of finisher though, but yeah, you always something.
Yeah, but see, like I always say with those kinds of cards though, like with like Eclipse and Thundergod's Wrath and Mystic Flare, they're kind of like partway to a finisher, because like I've actually had draft games where I team kill like my opponent, or I get like 3 or 4 kills over the course of 2 turns or whatever it is, and I feel like way on top of the world, but then their heroes get back into lane and I can't push through for enough damage to finish the game. And that's something that I think that is easy to get caught into, because you get attracted to Thunder God's Wrath and Eclipse and your friendly fires, thunderstorms, etc., like that. But if you don't have any tools to actually end the game, your blue deck can just kind of get to that late game scenario and not really know what to do. So you can sometimes do this with items too. I think the Stonehall Pike is a useful one that can sometimes be used in this role, but especially pairing with other colors too, like red, the beefy heroes there, green, the beefy creeps there, black with its like the Disciple of Nevermore or whatever. These are ways that can actually finish the game.
It's a bit like a MOBA, right? Like Dota. Like, doesn't matter how many times you kill their heroes if you don't attack towers at any point. Like, you need to realize that the towers / the ancient is the objective of the game. The objective is not to kill the enemy heroes as many times as possible. Like, you need to actually do something after you kill them.
Okay, so with that, let us get into the game. So as you can see that I am against, so this is actually my game, of course, that we're going to be casting, but it is myself versus the red-black deck. Have an interesting matchup here at the first turn of Debbie lining up into that bounty hunter.
Yeah, so Debbie trading with any hero is all right because Debbie's an
Yeah,
ancient hero. Sorry, a what's it called? Basic hero. Yeah,
basic.
so
Yeah,
a basic hero trading with anything is all right. Debbie can trade with Sorla, can trade with yeah, any black hero really. So that's a
yeah.
pretty good start for you, really.
Well, as long as they didn't have the track on it,
Yeah,
like that was the
yeah,
thing that I was worried about there. Like, as long as they don't have that,
yeah,
that's fine.
exactly.
Now, Prelix is one of my pet cards. I don't know how you feel about her specifically because I know that she's a little bit controversial. What is your feelings on
I
Prelix?
like her. I really do. I think she's pretty much a better Venomancer, especially or in draft. That is
Yep.
because her card, her signature card, might not be super good in a constructed format because it's a bit slow. And but
Mm-hmm.
in draft, it can really like change the game. Just random creep spawns can really screw you over. The Predix minimizes the randomness of that, and it just adds creeps in general. So yeah, I really like her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's definitely one of my pet cards personally because she just like has won me so many different games for just like spitting out like creeps after creeps after creeps, like especially with the
Yeah.
barracks. It's just like one of those cards that can take over a game by itself when your opponent doesn't have an answer to it. So I don't know. It's a weakness of mine.
The power with Prelix is also that her card can be used defensively. I can't speak at all. Offensively, like right, you want a lot of
Yeah.
creeps to go smash the enemy tower, or you can use it defensively in the lane to block.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I like it too is that you get to decide about like what am I going to do with it? Is this a game that's about pushing like one specific lane or where do you I want to allocate my
mm.
resources? It always is one that feels like you get the choice of saying like where am I going to direct my energies with a card like that. One of my personal favorite games was actually in this run that was along a similar
Mm.
line of this. Actually, here's a play that I didn't we worth
Uh-huh.
discussing. We have the Keef that attacked the Farvon there. Would you have played the Prowler there to just block a bunch of damage on the
No,
Farvon, or did you like that
I
play?
wouldn't have done it at all because Farven going down isn't that much of big a deal since you have one green card in your hand. You might not even draw any
Yeah.
more green cards, and saving creeps just to block things in the late game is like super good in draft. Creeps in draft in general just insane, right? Blocking
Mhm.
things, just having your dudes tank stuff. It's really really good. So creeps have a lot of value, and blocking like worst case scenario, Keith redirects again to your Farvan, right? And you just put it on this turn instead. Like it's not that big a deal. So
Yeah.
I think that's the right play.
Now this Tyler Estate sensor here is definitely screwing things up because I would have really liked to deploy that barracks right here. Now at least I do
Yeah.
have the opportunity to play with the Traveler's Cloak, but it really hurts not being able to play out barracks in this kind of a board state.
Yeah. Their musk is pretty spicy here. I don't know what lane I'd play it in. If I yeah, I'd play the musk here probably. Uh,
Well, I don't have a green hero in lane right now, so I can't
All
play it at
right.
the moment.
Sorry,
But
sorry.
of course,
Nah, but yeah, the barracks would have been really good. I'd probably have placed them. I might have. I'm really for the thing for the abandon things quickly party. Like I'd
oh
just
yeah,
like as soon as the lane goes slightly right for me, I just no, I don't go back ever. Especially if I have two heroes there. So here I personally might have just let products die, redeploy in another lane. That just comes down to playstyle, though. I think I might be like prematurely giving up lanes sometimes. Uh,
see, I definitely lie on the other end of that.
yeah.
That I think that I overcommit
Mm,
into three lanes. It's just like I'm part of it too is that I like to spread my opponent's resources thin
mm.
as well because I feel like I can often find some advantages there. But I definitely have looked back at a couple games and say like, yeah, I probably put a little bit too much work
Yeah.
into one of those
I'm a
lanes.
really conservative player. Like there, for example, I wouldn't have healed the Prelix because she wasn't going to die, so I would have saved the healing. It's like and tiny things like that. I'm
So
a really conservative player, I'd say.
So that was one that is for the purposes of the creep is going to bump into the Prelix,
Mm.
so she goes down to 5, which means at the beginning of the next turn she gets shot by
Yeah,
sniper.
okay, yeah, that's
So
probably a good play then. Yeah, that's probably right. But you have a green here on the right lane, right? You could have remusked the left lane because you only have a prowler. And
that's a good point, and I think that and I want to do that too because he's not going to be doing anything else that's
Mhm.
interesting, and I really do want to get that blessing on the Prelix specifically, right?
Yeah,
So, I think that you're probably correct there. That was my thinking, though, at the very
yeah,
least.
yeah. I didn't think of that, to be honest. So right,
Okay.
like, so I wouldn't have. It's easy to be hindsight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hindsight casting, right?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things too that is part of the interest of a game like Artifact is that I feel as if it really does reward people for deciding of like what's your path to victory and then finding a good way to implement that.
Yeah.
Like for instance, right here, you were already saying, maybe you abandon lane 1,
Mm.
but I just played a barracks
Yeah.
there. What do you think about that
I
play?
might have tower if like now you decided to not abandon left lane, right? So you kind of
Mhm.
had to fully commit. But if you had abandoned left lane, I would have tower barraged like any day of the week because Bounty would have died, would have gotten some speed in the mid lane.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I also might have remusked left lane since you didn't abandon it.
Yeah.
Here I would have abandoned right lane instead. Remusked
Sure.
left lane. I personally almost always abandon some lane,
Right.
like at least turn 2. Turn 3 maybe. Like I want to leave one of the lanes as fast as possible. So there,
What an animal.
yeah, so there I would have let Farvan died and remusked left lane since you decided not to leave or abandon left lane. Just as an example.
Yeah, I definitely that's a difference in the philosophies, and I really am interested to see like what
Mm.
ends up kind of like working out the best
Yeah.
over the long haul because it's one of those things that like I can always debate back and forth about like like maybe I could have fought for that lane harder and things would have worked out differently. But here it just feels like um I am trying to fight for all of the lanes, and as a result, I always feel like I can tease my opponent's resources thinner on
Mm.
all of the lanes, and then when I do notice them abandoning a given lane, I can kind of respond to that, I think, a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
I
sense
don't
as
know.
well. It's a tough call, right? I don't think there's a like guaranteed right or wrong answer here. I think it just comes
Hmm.
down to play style. Like some people like fighting for all 3 lanes, some people like me like to abandon a lane really quickly. And something I've started doing recently is that I might go back to a lane, right? So just
Hmm.
because I abandon a lane doesn't mean I'm never going back. I might come back and retake the lane, and that could really screw my enemy over because they've spent a lot of resources there, worked the tower down to like 4 HP. But then I come back, kill their heroes, create a board state that benefits me. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think that what's best for doing that is when your opponent kind of says like, "Okay, I'm winning this lane. I'm just going to gradually take the tower with like one hero and a couple of creeps," and then just like there was a big combat that ended up with a couple of kills a couple turns earlier, you move in with 2 heroes, and then suddenly like you can switch the lane around super quickly.
yeah, yeah.
Is like one of the things that I find is the way in which it plays out the most
Mm.
that can kind of abuse that under investment of somebody who's trying to take the lane.
Yes.
So this yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so say they're expecting to get left lane, right? They're just like, oh, he's abandoned it. There's no chance he's coming back. And you have a Lich deploying on turn 7. You put the Lich down,
Mm.
throw a Chain Frost, decimate the whole lane. Your tower's on 1 HP. Doesn't matter. They haven't killed it. Then you just win because they didn't kill the tower in time. Just
Hmm.
as an example.
Yeah. Well, in this case here, it's also kind of particularly strange because we've had this third lane has been working out so strange. I feel like
Yeah.
because my opponent has been committing nothing, and I've been committing like just a little bit more than nothing. So it's actually been I feel like it's been actually working really really well in my favor
Yeah.
because they have a hero here and they're losing the lane anyway.
Yeah. And here's one of the small but impactful choices. Like, do you play the cleric here? Do you not? Like, it's
Hmm.
4 extra damage, but it's an infinite creep blocker in another lane since it heals itself. It's yeah. There's in Artifact the most beneficial and also the most different or difficult thing to what should I say? You have to make a choice whether to do something or do
Yeah.
nothing, right? Sometimes doing nothing is the right call. Sometimes doing something is the right call. Sometimes we're gonna pass, so your opponent does something, so you can counter it. And like, yeah, it's 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 a different card game in that way. Like, say you're playing Hearthstone, right? You get a 4 mana creep on turn, or on 4 mana. You don't have any other creep. You probably play that thing, right? It's
Yeah.
yeah. So I personally wouldn't have played cleric there probably because I would have passed, and if he countered and if he played something, I maybe would have played the cleric depending what he did. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So that left lane now is finally looking to the point that I have to abandon it
Yeah.
because I lost my prologues. Now this champion of the ancient does have some serious abilities here to set things up, but this is actually, I think, playing very badly into Primal Roar,
Mm,
because this is now just like a perfect setup
yeah.
for that card specifically, and just like, I mean, there's a pretty good chance they have it.
Yeah, you could have Mystic Flare the Beastmaster and the mini creep, sorry, and you would have died.
Yeah,
The thing is, though, having an 8/12 anywhere on the board, like, you're kind of happy with that. So, because the
yeah,
value doesn't disappear, right? It just moves if he
yeah.
primars. Although it's
I guess
going,
that the only place I wouldn't want it in the right lane. Like that's a
mm,
little bit overkill.
yeah, yeah. Having if that goes to the left lane, you have some, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it can
Yeah,
actually help
that
you.
was one that I was very happy about. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, woo.
so it can actually help you quite a bit there.
Mm.
Hmm.
Probably shouldn't be using this right now, given the fact that it accomplishes actually nothing.
Yeah. So where did you deploy Debbie last round? The right lane is pretty much one. I would have abandoned mid lane, right? I'd just be like, okay, this is not winnable. I'd put Debbie in the left lane, try to retake that. He has one hero. You have an 8/12 with like 48,000 cleave.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is what I mean. Like, what lane you abandon and fight for changes, could change many times across the game.
yeah, yeah. And I think that, for instance, right here at this point would be a good time to abandon right lane. Like, for instance, this I think is probably unnecessary. I actually
Yeah.
don't think this is the correct decision. I don't play the Armor of the Rebellion. I town portal scroll out my Farvon. I'm probably going to take this tower over a couple turns.
Mm.
At the very least, it's going to be really hard for my
Like,
opponent to take my tower over even like any timeline,
yeah.
and then redeploy Farvon into the left lane.
Like, worst case scenario, you have to send your Magnus there. Like,
Yeah.
if I was playing there, I'd probably not use the Armed Rebellion, just keep Scholar Farland immediately. Like, the worst thing he could do was a Primal Roar, if you judge by just his red heroes, right? And the Primal
Mhm.
Roar wouldn't really accomplish anything. So yeah, the correct play there is probably to Tom Porter Scroll out, not use Armed Rebellion.
Yeah, I agree.
Although, if that was the left lane, that might be the right play because that opens up ancient potential, right? Having a lot of 4 attack creeps, but since it's the right lane, that's the last lane that gets to play. So getting the ancient there it's a bit tricky,
Which is
right?
appealing. Yeah, that's something that I've been learning and thinking a lot about more recently. It was the idea of lane priority. It was something they really stressed a lot in. I don't know if you had a chance to watch any of the We Play tournament that
Yes.
happened over the last couple of days, the constructed focus one.
Mm.
And it was something that they were talking a lot about in the cast about terms of lane prioritization. And as I started to incorporate that into my play, I felt a really big level up.
Yeah.
Is that the left lane is just so much better
Yeah.
than the other two, and by focusing your resources there, it forces it puts your opponent into more restrictive binds, because it feels like a lot of times that artifact games come down to one person's a step ahead and one person's a step behind. But if you're the one who's saying, I want to be the one who's ahead in the left lane, then you get to choose that you're the person who's like a step ahead.
Yeah, exactly. You're like basically one turn ahead, right? You have one turn more to kill the ancient than the other player, basically.
Yep.
So yeah, the left lane potential is really important. The difficult part is judging when you shouldn't go for the left lane. Like, it's really tricky. You shouldn't always go for the left lane. You should never go for it. You should mostly, it's just It's really difficult. It's a difficult game, guys.
Turns out it's a hard game. Turns out.
Yeah, it's a really hard game. So am I stupid, or why is the Beastmaster taking 2 damage from the dude? Or is it bug, maybe?
I'm not sure. Oh, he has the Ring of Tarask, which has the 6 regeneration.
yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, what? Am I missing something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
this, I mean, this Debbie here is not accomplishing a whole ton. Now they actually did play out the one track on it so far. I think they're gonna play another one right now. Yeah, and this is the point that I said, okay, I'm gonna bite the bullet
Yeah,
and just TP it out. It's just too much gold.
yeah, double track is a bit scary. It's a difficult call because you would. I understand why you held it for a bit, because you'd rather TP the far one, right? Because you have some green cards in your hand. Sure, you have some black cards, but
And that 5 that damage on that tower is really counts for a lot.
yeah,
Right?
that too. I, I I don't know what's the right call. Like, if we saw the enemy deck list, we could know what's the
Yeah.
right call. Depends on his item cards, right? But if he has a Horn of the Alpha and he gets a kill and gets a horn next time, you're pretty much done, right? So
Or like Helm of the Dominator, I can't beat that card.
yeah,
Like, in this
exactly.
case. That would feel pretty bad.
Yeah, that 8/7/6 cleave dude would probably not feel good when
No.
he's on the other side, right?
Yeah. So here, I think, is a pretty classic example of I just give up this lane, I
Yeah.
foresight, see what happens. Like Mystic Flare could accomplish some amount. I mean, I don't even know why I'm doing. I'm actually doing this because why not? Because he's going to be dying here anyway. May as well take out the creep with me. But
Yeah.
yeah, draw some cards and see if I can get something that matters.
Yeah, oh, double foresight again. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much just foresight, save the fountain flask, let him die. Maybe it would be a different call if the enemy tower was low as well, but it's in full health, so
Yeah.
yeah, alone Sky Ref is probably not taking that tower, so just utilize the card draw. Maybe it's worth to heal him here, just to have another lane to play barracks from the next turn, but
I mean, I think that barracks, once you get to mana 8, is just a little bit lower priority because it's just like it's definitely a card that you feel the power level of it decline over the course of the game because you just get so much less utility out of it.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a difficult call because since you're facing a red black deck, he might actually have some things that you want to that will deal damage to you immediately that you want to heal up, right? If you were facing like a green, say a green red deck, he'd probably pretty much have nothing to just plain out deal damage to your heroes, and all your heroes are on full health. I'd actually maybe heal the Sky Ref there, just have something to play, somewhere to play barracks from. I don't know. It's a tough call though. I don't think it matters that much in the long run, to be honest.
So this first lane now is turning into a full-fledged party.
Yeah. Oh, double Beastmaster as well. Yeah. So
I mean, double Beastmaster is terrifying in this kind of a setup because I have a tower at 7 health and they have 5 copies of Primal Roar left in their deck. So it feels like from this position, there's a lot of ways that I die.
Yeah, there's and the sniper headshot as well. There's a lot of things that could go wrong here. Yeah, and it's his turn as well. He could just kill the. Oh, he decides to. That's a bit odd. I'd use this sniper headshot first. Probably just kill the Debbie.
Yeah, I think that there's no better target like in my deck than headshotting the Debbie. So I think that you start there, and then you also, since you have the 3 red heroes that are lined up there, you can use any of them to Primal Roar.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So,
and
like, you just want to create holes here as best you can. So I would just focus on that. Now, this though gives me the opportunity to play out the Divine Intervention in response, so that actually turns off the headshot. That they can no longer get through like with that tool, because I just want to keep my board intact so that I can't die.
That's a really good play. The thing he should have done is headshot, and then he because headshot costs no mana, obviously. Then he could, because I'm assuming he doesn't only have Primal Roars in his hand, right? He could either see if he needs to use Primal Roar to punch through, or he could play his other cards, or like. You always want to spend the least amount of resources possible, right? So, yeah. I think if he used headshot and then used Primal, I probably would have won. Immediately.
Yeah, golden ticket coming out. Can't remember what this one gets him.
Mm.
It's I mean, this game is clearly turning out to be very, very close.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
right, Keen Folk Musket.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's that right there is the
Yeah.
victory for them. Got that out on the last turn.
Yeah. That's a bit sad, but yeah, it was a good game. It was close. I don't know if I have like a one specific play that uh, decided the game.
Well, I think that it was in some respects like what you're saying. We were discussing earlier about the lane allocation for it. That I kind of was not prioritizing on either the first lane or the second lane. I think very well, and as a result, I think that made it harder to defend that first tower. And by the same, like, had I actually just made a decision earlier on, I think that it would have been a little bit easier to hold that first lane.
Yeah, maybe it's yeah. I'm like I said, I'm a believer that you should abandon at least one lane
Yeah.
really early in the game, most of the cases. I think I think that's a playstyle thing as well, though. I don't know. It's difficult to say, right?
Well, I think that also it's something that for me, like one of the ways in which I like to do the play for all the lanes sort of thing is just creating these sort of masses of units through cards like Prolix and Barracks, and that play style is a lot weaker against a hero composition like the one that my opponent had, because black cards are great at punching holes and through a hero lineup like this, and or like a wall of these creeps, and then your Primal Roar similarly great at punching a hole through what might like this kind of defense.
Yeah.
So it's a lot harder to do that, because if there is any of your lanes that is a little bit weaker, or if it gets down to single digit life totals, it's just impossible to defend it.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty difficult matchup for you. The reason being that he has 6 Primal Roars. Since you have a blue, at least 2 blue heroes, you probably don't have that many creeps. So you can't like say Primal Roars makes 2 spots available for him to just punch through. You can't really just spam down creeps there as easily since you're blue, and he didn't really have hard hitting enough spells to kill his Beastmasters and similar.
Yeah. Well, and that was something too that I didn't talk about as much. Like, I had like 2 Mystic Flares rotting in my hand like all game.
Yeah,
and there was that one instance that I could have used and I didn't. I think that was a mistake. But outside of that, it's just a really hard card to use well, especially against a double Beastmaster lineup, because all of their heroes are so beefy.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one that a card that I maybe could have used a little bit better. So I was actually wondering if you have time to do another one, because I actually have another game that's recorded. I forgot that I had 2 games on this file.
Yeah,
that were recorded. We can do another one if you want.
I have like 7 hours now, and I can do anything I want, so it's fine.
Good. So let's go into the second game. So this is Roku 666 versus myself. It is a green-black deck. The hero lineup that they are presenting, I believe, was so it's Abaddon, Lich, and Viper are their flop heroes, and then they have Phantom Assassin on their turn, and Farvon on the river.
Okay.
Phantom Assassin on the turn is
I was going
just wrong.
I'm very confused about Lich being the flop and Phantom Assassin not being. I'm just assuming this guy didn't notice or something. Like, there's no reason to ever not play Phantom Assassin on the flop. I feel like she's going to kill pretty much anything. She has 8 health, survives most stuff.
Yeah, this was something that I actually did a video on hero lineups for my channel. I'll probably have a link in the description for people who want to check that out. But there are I always find that looking at my opponent's hero lineup, there's a lot of times like they don't get it, do they?
Yeah,
I feel pretty good about this. Just getting in. Now, this particular matchup though is actually pretty bad because this is, by the way, also the best usage of iron bark protection I've ever seen.
Oh, Jesus.
We'll get to that in a little bit. But the Farvon versus Viper matchup is horrible because not only does Farvon lose, he loses all of his attack in the process.
Bad, man. Oh god. Viper.
Yeah, it's like the only thing that Viper is good for. It's
Yeah.
like this is his peak Viper. You'll see it over the course of this.
The only thing
turn.
that feels worse is like your blue hero spawning into a Viper and just like, oh Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
Kana versus Viper, go!
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
You know, this Iron Bark protection here, not only does it stop my Debbie from killing it, it stops with a no accident from finishing it up, and then get the Viper strike here.
yeah,
so
oh god.
Kill on it. Oh, the humanity. I remember this all now.
Oh, this is horrible. And you don't have a second black hero to deploy right to finish him off with no accident either.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh god. Yeah, this is not a great start for you, let's just say.
I've had better.
Yeah, I certainly hope you have. So where do you put the prelix here?
I think that
left?
I like it.
Right?
I think I like it right because I think that my purpose is that even if the Phantom Assassin goes into that lane, there's like a there's a 1 in 3 chance that Prelix would be in front of her.
Yeah.
And then I thought there was a higher chance that the Phantom Assassin would go into that left lane, maybe fighting for first lane priority. Now the arrows here do not work out in my favor either, because I want to get that unearthed secrets online. So instead they decide to kill my Farvon, which is very unkind of them. It probably would have been correct to just let him die there, honestly, so that he gets out of the clutches of this Viper stealing all of his attack points.
This is like what I'm talking about. Like, this is the point I would have abandoned the lane immediately. I'm like, nope, I'm out of there.
Just immediately.
yeah, I'm not.
2 heroes here.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. I'm like, okay, my hero's dying. He has 2 heroes here. I have a free card draw with our secrets. I just leave. I'm like, okay, thank you, goodbye.
I like it.
Yeah, that's just how I play, right? I just immediately abandon lanes. If they have 2 heroes in the lane, I have no hero there. I'm like, okay, I'm not going back. Screw that. You can have it.
Yeah. Well, they got a nice collateral damage here. Very very spooky spell to play out on turn 2.
Yeah, totally. Shaking your pants right now.
Yeah. Terrified of their usage of digital cardboard, wasting space in their deck. Probably like 47 cards of deck in there, I'm sure.
And this is the reason I go, as we said earlier, I go tricolor 90% of the time. If I was going tricolor, never ever would I have that in my deck, right? I'd have some good, super good blue cards instead and have a blue hero there instead of the, I don't know, Farben or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Lich, though, man, that is a gentleman and a scholar. He is. I have done some pretty messed up stuff with the Chain Frost.
I have survived some pretty messed up Chain Frost.
If you guys haven't seen that, by the way, that highlight reel of Hellberg's, basically, there's like a Chain Frost that jumps back and forth between 2 heroes. Back and forth, but there's a cheating death in play, and I'm actually the one who's casting it at this point. I have to like restrain myself from vomiting on my computer because it's so filthy.
So right, 3 Chain Frost just bounces between 2 elf heroes, and then they also survive the Thunder God's Wrath. It didn't even matter, but just to add salt to wounds, like
none of this mattered. It was still revolting of what happened there. But now my Farvon is finally being put out of his misery. He's going to be finishing here with 1 attack after all of this. Soaking up a bunch more damage. Once again, no proc on that Unearthed Secrets. I'm very happy with how the first lane is going, as you can imagine.
So, but here you must just remusk mid lane, right? The creeps survive, Prelix survives, gets them. Yeah, exactly.
So this is the right lane, but I do this for the purposes. Always want to prioritize buffing the Prelix, though. But I think that you're right, though. Of that, it's the idea of improving the creep combat that's happening there as well. But yeah, like whenever you have the chance, like whenever it's remotely close, it's like I want to buff my blue heroes. This is also something that came up a lot in the course of the tournament that I won for the AOC. That I always was trying to prioritize buffing my Luna. Not that she's as fragile as Prelix, but she's still a very fragile hero and is high value to keep in lane as long as
Yeah,
possible.
yeah. Lunar products are two of the most, together with Venomancer, is like they're so important to keep alive, just because they have an effect that procs itself at the start of a turn, right? You just gain
Hmm.
value after value after value just by keeping them alive. So yeah, it's really important.
Yep.
Mm,
So this is hard for me because like there's I I don't think that I should do this. This seems like a mistake to me. I should just jam that barrack somewhere. I guess that I have the Prelix in the right lane, and she's not going to do anything else other than that. So this seems okay-ish.
mm,
Actually, I remember the purpose of this is to set up this play because technically, if somebody has negative armor and then it's being attacked by something that has 0 attack, it actually does damage.
I
So that this is setting up for like a Mystic Flare next turn. That
yeah.
was my purpose of doing that one there.
If I was playing, I don't think this is the right play. Actually, I would have used the Skyref Mage ability and then compelled my what's it called, Magnus into Lich to kill him. That is
Hmm.
not the right play because he would come back on turn 7 to play anywhere he wants and just spit out the Shamefrost. But that's what I
Yeah.
would have done. So yeah, as I said before, hindsight really helps. I think you might have done the right. And barracks is probably the right play. You're right. Like using barracks in
Mhm.
actually any lane can help. Left
Yeah.
lane would stall him a bit. Or nah,
It's
not left lane because you have unnerved secrets. By the way, never mind. You wanted to proc.
yeah. Yeah, but generally it's one of those things that like barracks is just so high value that unless you're like really under a lot of pressure, which I'm obviously not
Yeah,
quite yet, it's just so high value to develop that I would rather do that almost over anything else.
yeah.
Uh Obviously I have nothing to do here, so I'm just gonna take some damage and draw a card, which is a nice consolation.
hmm So did it damage that was dealt last round to set up the Mystic Flare to kill something or
That's in the mid lane. That's in the mid lane.
yeah, exactly.
Um
Did it take
mhm.
enough damage to die by a Mystic Flare? I didn't.
Yeah, you'll see that the Mystic Flare here. See, we get the
Yeah,
kill on the Farvon, the Lich, and the Satyr.
yeah, that's totally the right play then. Yeah, I think so. Probably better than the barracks, honestly, because you can do 3 things. Delays his chain frost by 1 turn, unless yeah, he won't be using it this lane, right? Because what's he gonna
No,
chain frost? You're not deploying anything there, anyways.
yeah. Well, then
So
also like one of the things too is that I think that a Prelix style deck actually has a decent resistance to a Chain Frost because you can just build up enough material in a
mhm,
lane that it just soaks up all of the damage. Like
yeah,
creeps especially are so good at invalidating a Chain Frost
mm,
because each one of them takes the 2 hits. So here get a very sick Mystic
yeah, yeah.
Flare off.
This is
This
just
feels pretty good.
a no-brain play. Like that's what you do.
Yeah.
Nothing to discuss here. Just like
Yeah.
kill them all.
Feels good, feels good. So this one's
Yeah.
going pretty well, obviously.
Mm.
This right lane is still pretty neutral, all things
Oh.
considered. I think yeah. So there's the possibility of playing out something like Disciple of Nevermore. It's probably too early for that, but a Gloaty Vandal looks reasonable. Actually, does
I
this
might have
change
used the
things?
Slay here. He has no mana. He has like green has like what 1 2 mana creep. I might have used the Slay just to deal yeah 9 damage
I
to the
think
tower. I think
yeah,
this is
that seems good. I mean, like 4-1-4, it always feels weird using Slay on a melee creep, but especially once it's gotten the Arm the Rebellion buff on it, it's a 4-1-4
yeah
unit, and you would use a Slay on something like that. This is better than an Aglody Vandal or a Selfish Cleric when it's already in the lane.
yeah.
So just thinking about it that way is more important.
Because the thing is, right now you're not afraid of Thunder Heights, right? Like, where is he going to put it? Left lane, you've already abandoned. It's still pretty healthy. Middle lane
Mhm.
has a lot of elf and doesn't have a enemy green hero in it anyway. Right lane also has a lot of health. Like, yeah, I think that's the right play totally. And your Debbie would have died there anyways if you didn't kill the creep because of the musket.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's right. Mm,
I can't remember why I played it. Just doing this to just get more damage out because I'm feeling like I want to push this lane
yeah.
for it. So that was my plan here, and just once they had played out that musket, there's just nothing else to do.
Mm.
So I felt like maybe why not get some? I guess they could have just specifically a martyr, which would be a little bit annoying, but it didn't feel like they had that.
I probably would have played the Oglodi because it pushes as pretty much as much damage, right?
Well, I didn't have
Because
enough mana for that at that point because
ah
I
yeah,
slayed
okay,
and
okay,
then
okay. Yeah, then the sub is probably the right play because you want to push fast, like before the
Mhm.
Lich comes down. Because if he deploys Lich to right lane or whatever, he can just pretty much board wipe you with the Chain Frost. So you kind of want to win before the Lich comes down if it's possible. Um,
Yeah, or at least be far enough ahead that he can't win the lane back, something
yeah,
like that. But
exactly.
I mean, one of the problems is that I definitely need to get my blue heroes, or at least one of them, out of that mid lane,
Mm.
because having both of them there just really is stifling mana development. That, by the way, is something that people I don't feel appreciate quite enough yet. Is about the idea of stranding cards in your opponent's hand by strategically trying to place heroes in given lanes. Like so, especially a 3 faction deck like this, I like my blue cards are functionally turned off in a lot of
Yeah,
cases
and
because they're both
it's
stranded
the
here.
same for Hing, right? Because you abandoned left lane, so
Yeah.
he only has one black hero to play with when it comes to Chain Frost. If his PA, for example, was in the middle lane or right lane, that Chain Frost in his hand, that he probably has, right? You kind of have to expect it, would be a lot more scary. Yeah, see, now it's a lot more scary again.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, Relentless Pursuit going from the left lane to the right, that's pretty terrifying. Especially
mm,
with a Disciple of Nevermore in the lane.
yeah.
It does not feel good.
So here I would just pass. I just pass, keep initiative to right lane, use divine intervention, maybe keep
Oh, sure. Okay, that's a pretty
blade of
conservative play. I feel like
maybe equip the blade on the right lane. Maybe it would even kill some stuff. I don't know.
I actually want to. Like, there's just so much stuff that I can develop. So, like, I want to, for instance, get that
Mm,
barracks out of my hand finally. Would be
yeah,
nice getting that into that right. I mean, like, obviously, this I hate the idea of them having initiative going into that right lane, but they also don't have a lot of cards in hand.
yeah,
So
that's true.
there is a world in which they just don't have it.
Yeah, that's very true. I feel like since he jumped there, I feel like he has it. Like it,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. But totally, he has two cards in his hand. It's a
This
pretty good
this
chance he doesn't have it.
this barracks deployment, by the way, is really like I don't know where it's supposed to go. It could
Mm,
I could see it going into any of these lanes, honestly. Though I actually think that this lane, the mid lane, is probably the worst lane for it to be in. Because I'm winning this lane already and just pushing the ancients. I mean,
yeah.
it's possible to do, but there's an opportunity to go back into that left lane. I know that the Unearthed Secrets is there, but I mean, obviously the right lane is contested. Would you place the
Yeah.
barracks?
Well, all the towers is really healthy still, which is surprising. Honestly, I thought the left tower was way gone. I would have put it right lane because you're pretty sure you're winning mid lane already.
Yeah.
So having some extra creeps in the right lane would certainly help, especially since your enemy still needs to push tower damage on two lanes, right? Or
Hmm.
kill the ancient, and your mid lane you have so much stuff that just face block stuff that you're not really that afraid of it.
This, by the
um,
way, I was lucky enough they did not have the chain frost. That was
yeah,
honestly just strictly lucky. And then this play lined up for myself, which felt very, very fancy. A divine intervention plus the
yeah,
blade
totally.
there to push in a bunch of damage. So now that third lane is looking really bad for them and looking good for me now. And it's just
Yeah,
this
so that
like playing out
the
the yep.
that made your play right,
Mhm.
the right call, right, to actually use your cards in the mid lane. So you because they didn't have the Chain Frost,
Yeah.
for example. If they had the Chain Frost, my play would probably, I say probably, but it would have been the right or
Mhm.
whatever
Better.
call. But since they didn't have it, your play was the right call. So yeah, it's really difficult. It's just
Yeah.
difficult. Everything's just so difficult.
Yeah. Well, it's also something that like in terms of like what's right and wrong, it's just so hard to find that out in various ways because
Yeah.
especially in this kind of situation, like what are the odds of them having that chain frost, especially given their hand is so light, they haven't been playing out
Mm.
very much stuff. They've been playing like they're kind of like desperate for for cards. So I don't know what I should have been reading there. Like there was a real chance of the Chain Frost, but maybe I was just kind of in this position of saying I don't think that I can win either the left lane or the right lane if they have a Chain Frost in this game because it's just going to be so hard to battle through that.
Yeah, that's called as well. Like, if you think you're screwed no matter what, if
Yeah,
he has the card, you might as well like risk it.
yeah,
So yeah,
it's tough.
yeah, totally.
Now I still have those blue heroes stuck in that mid lane. I have not been able to find a town portal scroll, unfortunately.
Mm,
At least I have enough of these cross lane effects that I could be implementing. Like I have the Remes Blessing that I just picked up, which is I
mm.
think a pretty obvious play here.
Yeah, certainly saves. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm,
Now I think that I basically am starting to take the approach of saying I may as well play some of these creeps out in this lane because I don't think that I'm going to have a chance to play them out in that right lane. I just don't have enough mana, and I have so many green cards.
mm.
So maybe there is a world in which I can push this ancient, especially since they put the barracks here. I still think that putting the barracks in the right lane is probably correct, but now that there is definitely a possibility of going down this ancient.
Yeah, totally. The only question is whether to play the what's it called, the cleric or the armed rebellion. But probably right to play the cleric here
Well,
because
my
it generates more value.
Well, like my math on that one is about the idea of saying like I play out a bunch of like units now, and then next turn I can play out another unit and then arm the rebellion, so that all of the like
Yeah,
that extra unit that I play next turn also gets the arm the rebellion. So I think the
yeah,
math works out better that I get a slightly more damage. I doubt that makes a difference in the ancient math, but it's probably the best way to maximize damage over the course of 3 turns or so.
yeah. I think it might actually decide the ancient map since you have at least the cleric, and then you have one creep from Prelix and one creep from the barracks. And you were
Sure.
killing the tower anyway, so I think that's the right call to play the cleric. And
Yeah, especially since I know I'm getting at least 2 creeps there next turn. You're right, actually.
yeah,
That just I am going to I know I'll be getting at least 2 creeps there, so that's an extra
or
4 attack that's happening.
or maybe actually the prowler, because the selfish cleric is a really good blocker to have for other lanes, block creeps indefinitely. And since you didn't need more damage that turn,
Well,
might be
actually,
good too.
I remember that a lot of my purpose is actually doing this was so that I could keep the Arm of the Rebellion for this lane, so that if they did have the Chain Frost, I didn't
Ah,
die immediately. Because
yeah, yeah.
having that to removing that negative armor effect just makes a huge difference in
Mm.
the Chain Frost math. So now the proc of the Chain Frost does 4 damage on the 2 right creeps, 3 damage on the mid one, and then some extra one on Farvon. But even the Disciple of Nevermore now is up to 0 armor, which is
Yeah,
which is good for his Disciple of Nevermore.
yeah.
But
The thing here as well is it kind of leaves it up to RNG. Say he has his Chain Frost. Sure, he only needs 3 procs on Farven to kill him. But if 2 of them bounces to the Disciple, your Farven gains more armor because the Disciple dies and everything gets more armor, and suddenly the Chain Frost is useless. So yeah, it's kind of fun interaction there.
yeah, well, it's just interesting of how like managing your lanes to play it around Chain Frost is one of those
Mm,
things that is a skill that takes a little while to develop. Of being like,
yeah.
okay, look, you need to have kind of like this critical mass of like once you get up to whatever it is, like 30 or 40 health in the lane, it just doesn't do anything anymore. Or like it's
Mm,
not nearly impactful enough. But once you, or you can have things where you have like a hero and a creep, and then it just can't bounce back and forth enough. So strategizing that is of either having very little in the lane or totally going over the top is, I think, a
yeah.
little bit of a skill that's interesting about playing around a card like that.
Yeah, I hate playing against Lich. The thing is, if I play against Luna, I can just count on the heroes, right?
Mm,
Because Luna's thing is completely random. So you just go, okay, that hero needs 3 procs to die, that hero needs 4 procs to die, that creep needs 2 procs to die. Thing with Lich is it's more controllable usually, right?
yeah.
You can choose where it starts. It's so yeah, it's. I don't know, the math's too hard for me when it comes to Lich. I'm just like, oh no, I don't know. I just hope and pray that Lich doesn't kill my stuff.
Well, I think that my why I prefer Luna, or why I actually don't prefer Luna, why I find it more confusing, is that I can never keep track of how many charges they have on their Eclipse.
Ah, yeah, that's
Well,
true.
like doing like the math in my head always at the beginning is like, okay, like if she hasn't died all game, then you can do it. Like that's not that hard. But
Yeah, yeah.
what if she's been like in and out of the game? So like you get to like mana 9, mana 10, or whatever. There's like, okay, like it makes a really big difference whether it has 6 charges versus your like 10 charges on
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and I can just never remember. So that's something that I wonder if there are some players that are good at doing that math in their head. Maybe that'd be one of those things that I need to get in the habit of like noting down of, when I'm
Yeah.
playing against a Luna deck, of like having that in my notes of how many charges that we have on the Eclipse at any given moment.
I also miss that. I miss that, and also I usually, but don't always check how much gold my enemy spends. Right. So here, for example, he bought one item, spent 4 gold. That's probably a fountain flask. Sure, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. Maybe you should just have a Luna sheet on your second screen or on your desk. You can just like
Yeah.
draw a stripe whenever a Luna thing procs.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, like in this, I find that specifically in draft for the spending money on cards in the shop, that's really really tough because especially when you don't know the deck list, as it is right now in the draft. Like I just don't know what it is I'm expecting to see, so it's hard to make a lot of
Mm.
inference from this. Like in this case, you're right that it's probably a fountain flask, very very high chance of a fountain flask, or it's like a TP scroll or a healing stuff, and then they saved an item in the secret shop. That seems less likely.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth. But like once you get into even like they're buying 2 items or whatever, it's like, okay, whatever. I can't even do this math anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult for real, especially if they use the hold mind game thing when they spend 1 extra roll. So here I just wanted to point out, if you had said you're on the rebellion, I don't know if it would be the right or wrong play, you deal about 40 damage this turn in mid lane.
Jeez.
Because you had, if I didn't miscount, you had about 10 creeps, so that's 20 more damage, and some creeps would also survive thanks to it. So yeah, it's but on the other hand, you're 1 damage off of lethal, and you also have a
Yeah.
load in your hand. So yeah,
Seems like this is a good setup.
yeah. The glowy finish feels bad for the enemy, man. Feels pretty good for you. Okay, that feels really bad for you. Never mind. Jesus.
Yeah, get back to there. But no, this is. I mean, all things considered, this lane is still going pretty reasonably.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Yeah.
like I mean, obviously, it's like that's not the card that I wanted to see this turn. Don't get me wrong, but it could have been worse. It could have been. Chain Frost would have been a lot worse. For example, this is just a little bit more health and a little bit more damage that I have to chew through.
Yeah, and also you're kind of playing offensive and defense, offense and defense at the same time, because if it comes down to an ancient race in the mid lane, which I think it's looking like right now, you still need to keep your other lanes alive, or at least need to keep one of them alive. And by fighting for this lane, you also keep your lane alive. If you had totally abandoned this lane, you would have lost, right?
What do you think about that Aphotic Shield on the Rejuvenator there, accomplishing absolutely nothing?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great card, but maybe not the best usage of it.
I don't know, man. That's roughly the average usage that I see of the card. If somebody uses it and then they say, "Oh shit, that doesn't do what I thought it did,"
yeah,
and then we move on to the next lane and we don't talk about it ever again.
Yeah, my regular usage is put it on a creep, have it kill a Debbie or something, and you're just okay. Yeah, nice. I guess.
You force them to play out a Traveler's Cloak.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is the pinnacle of the accomplishments of the Aphotic Shield.
I mean, 3 gold. That's,
man.
That's almost a hero kill.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Now they finally have killed this lane 1 tower after this PA now is at 16 health. Been in that lane just like forever.
Yeah, that's. I think that's the reason you won this game. You were pretty much fiery freeing the whole game, which is there, exactly what you said earlier about leaving lanes and such, because you can, especially versus low damage heroes. Like you don't want to leave a lane versus a sword or something,
Mm.
right? But
Well, yeah, and it's something that I knew in this game that if that third lane ended up being a draw somehow, which it kind like, I mean, I feel like I'm winning the lane, eventually, but I kind of knew that if it was if we were trying to ancient race between their first lane and my second lane, I was going to win that no problem
yeah, yeah,
because Prelix pushes ancients like Phantom Assassin. She's good at killing heroes, and honestly, is bad at other things.
yeah, yeah, totally. She's 6 attack, not much at all. Like she's, yeah, not good at all at pushing towers. Really, it, like sure it's 6 attack is 2 more than a Farven or something, but it
Mhm.
doesn't really make that much of a difference in the long run. Usually, like 2 more damage. It's
Yeah, this sequencing, by the way, I do this one wrong for sure. I wanted to figure out whether I'm going to play the Selfish Cleric or the Soul of Spring
mm.
first. And the reason that I end up playing the Selfish Cleric first is I was thinking about wanting to get the regeneration on the Selfish Cleric for some reason, and
No.
look on the idea that they somehow play a blocker that matters with 2 mana remaining. I don't know what exactly my logic was there, but I know that that was my logic.
I see. So, what's your blue spells here? Do you remember? I see the thunderstorm. I don't know what else.
Yeah, there's nothing else that's really cross lane. So unfortunately, like, I mean, I can't get my blue heroes out of
Yeah, yeah.
that mid lane. I've seen no TPs, by the way, like this entire game.
Yeah,
Just
it's
having
bad.
that Skywrath Mage and that Prelix in that mid lane, just being like, sure wish like Thunderstorm looks pretty good here. I don't know.
But
So killing up that farm on.
I was thinking about, do you have anything that could help you kill the Lich? Because if you do, I would have passed. Kept the initiative, so his Shane Frost in the mid lane. I'm still expecting Shane, like it has to come down at some point, right? Yeah, the Mystic Flare. So say he
Yeah,
deploys Lich mid lane. If he doesn't have an item, he has 9 health. You could Mystic Flare him, you win the game. I don't feel
sure.
like the cleric is accomplishing enough here to give up initiative for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that the purpose of me doing this here was for the purposes of just trying to push this lane further. But I think
Mm,
that like really I should have just accepted the fact that like my win condition is the mid lane.
mm.
So I think that you're probably right there
Yeah.
that I could have Misty Flared that Lich out.
Yeah, although your enemy did give up initiative as well, which I think was if he now does have the chain press, it comes down to that, right? He only has 1 card in hand. I feel
Yeah,
kind of bad for him if he still has a Guardian Chain Frost because it's mana turn 11 and he hasn't used one yet.
yeah.
But yeah, since he gave up initiative, if Lilich comes down and if he's not beside a minion, creep, sorry,
Yeah.
uh, which is really important since otherwise, if he's beside a minion, you can't kill him with a Mystic Flare.
But I mean, like the chances of that are pretty low given what this
Yeah,
board looks like right now, right?
exactly.
So, but I mean, also even at this point too, I think that it's pretty hard for the Chain Frost to win this lane back. Like at this point, I'm doing 35 damage to a 21 health Ancient.
Yeah,
So even though it could mess some stuff up a little bit, I don't think it'd be pretty hard for them to set up lethal or they like stall enough to do this. I mean, this hero placement is about as good as you can get, but the fact they didn't get any good curves, like
yeah,
I just don't even think that the Chain Frost is good enough here.
yeah, probably not. He's blocking the Debbie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the best thing for him to block. Even if he kills both other heroes, he only removes 8 damage, and that's still
Hmm.
not enough. And that's I think they both have 4 health, so that's 4 of the 7 or 7 charges. Wait, it's 7, right? Or is it 8? It's once and then
It's
7
eight.
more.
It's 8 in
Yeah,
total. Yeah,
that's 8 in
it's
total.
always how I find it hard to remember because it says 7 in the text,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's
Here's
they
the
do
Mystic
one
Flare.
pulse and then 7 more. I did
Yeah.
have they did give me initiative going to this lane, so
Mm.
I just nuke
Mm.
the Lich. They
Yeah.
obviously don't have any plays in response to this, so they just sit here for a moment contemplating their life choices, and we eventually
Why did
do
I
get
play this game? It's so
yeah.
hard.
Well, I mean, this is also the sort of game that you play. They're like, I really feel like there was a way to win this one, but I really lost, and I don't know why. Like I can see
Yeah.
somebody having that response to how this game played out. That, or it could just
Mm.
be pure BM that they just walked away from the computer, being like,
It
"Fuck this
happened to me
guy."
yesterday. I won with Meepo. I actually one shot his ancient with a. I got
Oh
Salamene
baby.
on turn 9 or mana 9, and I
Mm.
multicasted Meepo's signature 4 times. And I just one shot
Oh
his ancient, and he
no.
just left like. It's
Oh
so
my
funny.
god. I
Uh,
have had some good times with Meepo. Let me tell you about that. Like
yeah.
Meepo with the Sorla Khan deck.
Yeah. I had Sorla Khan, Meepo, and the Mist of Awareness. I went
That's
5-1.
I love it. I love it. That's definitely living that 3-color life to the fullest.
Yeah.
So that were all the games that we had to cast. Thank you so much for joining me, Hellberg. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you learned something through this practice of doing this and be all ready to cast on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm totally ready. Thank you for letting me join. I feel much more confident now, actually.
No, it's good. It's good. I mean, it's one of those things that honestly, like once you get a little bit of practice of it, you warm up a little bit. It's honestly not that hard. The hard part, actually, like you don't know this yet, is dealing with production stuff that's going
Yeah.
on behind the scenes because you sometimes will have people like speaking to your ear while you're mid sentence, being like, "We have to change something." There's some important shit going on. Don't let anybody know. Act natural that I'm talking to your ear while you're discussing these hyper analytical topics.
Yeah,
Like
that sounds
that's.
really difficult. Yeah, the thing is, like, I actually had more things to say than I thought I would, right?
Hmm.
Like, I didn't think I'd have anything to say, but yeah. So I'm really grateful for you letting me join. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
No, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We'll do this
Yeah,
again sometimes,
yeah,
but
totally.
that'll do it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and all of that business in order to support the channel. And check out the stream that is happening on Saturday because that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be playing to start off with the tiebreaker match to get into the top 8. Hopefully, I'll be able to get in for it. But is me and my nemesis, Lord Neudberg, I think is the name of it.
Lodberg, I think. I
Lodeberg,
think so.
right? Yeah, that son of a bitch. I'm gonna be battling him for the position in the top 8, and if I don't make it in, then I'll probably just be casting instead. But one way or another, I'll be there. Hellberg will be there
Yeah,
for the end in order to cast, and it'll be a lot of fun.
totally.
And now, is there any place that people can find you if they wanted to find you on social media or anything
I
like
guess
that?
your safest bet is just to join the Artificer Guild's Discord, where I'm a mod. Otherwise, I'm on
Sure.
Twitter. My name is at Lucas Hellberg, Lucas with a C.
Cool.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Great stuff. Great stuff. Talk to y'all later.
Yeah.